Hello, welcome to Soulprint Intuitive Tarot. My name is Cindy. You will be seeing this on March 1st. So, that much closer to spring and or I guess fall in the southern hemisphere. All right, so a lot of focus continues to be on Ukraine, as it should be. So first of all, yesterday, if you did not see it, if you were not notified, if you are subscribed to me, please hit the notification bell and then hit the word all, so that every time one of my videos comes out, you receive notification of it. So especially these days, it seems like I'm putting them out in kind of no logical or random order. They're just popping out and showing up. So there's that. But anyways, yesterday I did a positive energy circle for Ukraine. You will be able to find that on this channel, the Soulprint Intuitive Tarot channel. You will also be able to find it on my Soulprint Insights channel. So that was released on February 28th. It is a positive energy circle for Ukraine and everything that's going on there globally. Okay, so there's that. I want to do a reading today and focus in on the wannabe czar. Okay? He is being outcast, ostracized, shut off, closed off. He is no longer, frankly, a welcome member of governments of other countries. He finds himself in a place where he is very, very much alone. I mentioned in one of my last videos that it feels very much like he is sort of on a little bit of a self-destruct course. And that has been verified to me astrologically by somebody whose astrology skills I absolutely admire. So I want to take a look and exactly see what the heck is going on with him. The other thing that I just want to mention, for those of you who spend a lot of time on YouTube, there is an astrologer out there by the name of Steve Judd, Judd, Steve Judd Astrology. He's out of the UK. He does, kind of 15-minute videos or so. He kind of does more world events. But he was saying that astrologically, and I can only kind of go, okay, that's what he said, because Kevin, no, you all know I don't know nothing about astrology. But he said between sort of now and Friday is a really, really dangerous time, probably one of the most dangerous times for this situation. So you might want to give him a quick look. But so that was part of the reason that we did the positive energy circle. And it is part of the reason that I am absolutely wanting to focus on the wannabe czar. You know what? I ask you to please not refer to him by name in comments. I really don't want anything that triggers the trolls. Okay? Let's try to keep lower vibrational energy far, far away from the Soulprint experience, shall we? All right, here we go. Whoa. So let's just take a look. Oh my goodness, I got stuff flying everywhere. Hang on. Okay. Not surprisingly, what flew out was the world, because indeed, the world is watching him. And indeed, more than that, the world really is trying to bring an end to sort of one level of vibration, one attitude or way of looking at our civilization, and we are trying to move it to a higher level. And so, and always remember, these transitions as they take place, the third to the fourth, fifth dimension, the transition from lower consciousness to higher consciousness, the transition from a more exclusive to a more inclusive kind of simply way of looking at each other. It doesn't happen seamlessly, and it doesn't happen like floating on a cloud. There's work involved. And, and sometimes some of that can be very jarring, frightening, scary. It's part of the process that we go through. All right, so let's take a look at Buddy Boy there and see how he's doing. Things are not going quite as well as he wants. Now he's, threatening other countries with all kinds of nuclear options. That I don't believe is going to go absolutely anywhere. He is that child, that 2-year-old on the floor in the candy aisle, stomping his feet and hands and yelling and screaming because he's not getting his way. And that's exactly what you've got going on here. And so remember that. Keep that in mind. Not everything he does and says is going to manifest. These are threats. So don't react as if, the sky is falling in, because you're ramping up the global anxiety, and frankly, there's enough of that. Here we go. Come on down. I have a question. All right. So, tell me about Vlad. Tell me about Vlad. Tell me about Vlad. I know that there has been a lot of talk about, maybe he's sick, maybe he's on steroids. I've been getting a lot of messages saying, oh, so-and-so did a reading on this. You should go check it out. You should go check it out. I do watch some of them. I also am careful to not fill my head up with what everybody else is saying, because then that can impact what I'm seeing, and I don't want to go there. And everybody's going to have a slightly different take on things. So let's see what Spirit wants to tell me in this reading. Here we go. Okay, so I'm sure most of you have heard. So apparently on Friday, Russia's, interest rate was 9.5, and people of Russia woke up this morning and their new interest rate was 20%. It doubled as a result of this invasion, as a result of sanctions. And, the vast majority of Russian people are not in agreement with this. And so this only creates more of that pushback against what he is doing. So what he is finding out is that, in fact, the world does not appreciate his behavior. Ukraine does not appreciate his behavior. And Ukraine seems to be somehow putting up more resistance than certainly he was anticipating. I've said this before. He really thought that he could he would get the same response if he, invaded Ukraine as when he sort of stole Crimea. Okay. It was that sense of, well, I'm just going to go in there and take it. And really, so people are going to flap and yap, but they'll ignore me soon enough. They'll forget me. They'll forget I did it. It'll be fine. Well, you know what? It's not fine this time. It wasn't fine the last time, but this time it's super, super, super not fine. Okay. And he is receiving a whole lot more pushback than he in any way, shape, or form anticipated. He really thought that he could just push his way in and it would be fine. I mean, for God's sakes, you have like Ukrainian soldiers who are just horrified. Some of them are actually surrendering to the Ukrainians. Others of them are devastated. I don't know what they thought they were doing, but apparently they didn't think that what they were doing was actually what they ended up doing. God only knows what they were told they were doing. But in any case, so what he is dealing with is this sort of sense of he can't push this thing forward fast enough. And worse, public opinion is not with him. And by public, I mean within his country. I mean within leadership of other countries. I mean the world. Okay. I mean, even China and their buddy, even China, from what I understand, has stayed pretty neutral about what's going on. Okay. So he's not getting the results or the reaction or the recognition, although why he thought he would be getting good press from this, I really don't understand. People are saying, oh, the sanctions are going to work, they're going to work long term, yak, yak. You know what? The sanctions are starting to have an impact. And sometimes those initial impacts can actually have the energy to push things along maybe faster than anybody anticipated. It is the people that have a lot of money in Russia, the people who, frankly, he has allowed to become very, very, very wealthy and very powerful, although God knows not as powerful as him. They are starting to feel it and they don't like it so much. And I'm not saying that there's going to be this big like revolt against him from his inner circle, but I can tell you that the inner circle is sort of looking at the situation and going, wow, we're in trouble. We need to figure out a way to get ourselves out of this mess. And how do we separate ourselves from this? So there is that sense that the inner circle is not holding as tight as it has in the past, or certainly as tight as he thinks it is or thinks it should have. He's starting to realize that in some ways he really bit off more than he could chew. And there is this sense of this the poverty, the illness, the death, the people who are wounded. Now, do not for one second think that he carries that as a burden, like what is happening with his people. He doesn't care. But what he is reacting to is this sort of consistent and steady pushback. And it doesn't seem to matter. He takes one step forward, and globally, people are throwing sanctions at him. They're cutting off airspace. They're doing everything in their power to ensure that the country itself and its leader sort of faced like real isolation. And yet, there, of course, is much, much energetic support for the people who, in their own very brave ways, are pushing back against him within his own country. Make no mistake, there is going to be a heavy price to be paid for this. And, unfortunately, the price is never only against sort of our enemy, right? Everybody in conflict ends up paying a price to one degree or another. So that's sort of where we're sitting kind of right in this moment. Yeah, there is. So, yeah, okay. So it feels as if, there's simply too much that is going against him. Okay. The energy that resists him is abundant, and it's throwing him off his game. I don't know. I've said this before. I don't think that he is in the greatest of health, perhaps mentally, perhaps physically, perhaps both. But it feels as if he is not responding well to what he feels, frankly, is betrayal. He feels very much like he's not getting his way, and why is everybody sort of conspiring against him? And the more he sort of tries to look away from the law, the more he tries to just step away from anything that even comes close to an established or, I don't know, acknowledged sort of playing field, the harder the resistance is. And he becomes, more outraged by it. He becomes, and his behaviors sort of are becoming more reactionary, in some ways more juvenile. There doesn't seem to be the restraint of maturity going on with him. He's looking out and he's seeing that the world does not support him, and he's trying to assess. The problem is he can't assess clearly because he is looking at everything through sort of the prisms of his own worldview. And his own worldview is that entire area, it's not just Ukraine, that entire area needs to come under his control. He feels that that is the legacy he wants. And he is in some sort of a mental headspace where he hasn't figured out that kind of just energetically, globally, the world has shifted and changed. And people don't have a lot of tolerance for people who are trying to create legacies at cost to others, at harm to others. I mean, hell, he could ask the former guy how that went. Okay. Um, these kinds of legacies that are based in brutality and cruelty and amassing of power that, frankly, you don't rightly deserve and you were never actually given, um, it's not sitting so well. And it's not only here where you're going to see that kind of pushback. And so, frankly, um, those kinds of rulers in other places should maybe pay a little bit of attention to what's going on here, because it is the beginning of a domino effect. The money thing really concerns him. And there is a sense that he just may not get what he wants. And again, there's that energy of, well, okay, then I'm just going to be um, angry and cruel, and in like sort of like like look at the king upside down in a reverse position, right? The king of cups. So it's that sort of that sense of cruelty, and that I don't really care, I don't care. I just only care about what I want, and I'm going to do whatever I need to do to get it. But it's like his own sense of stability is becoming unstable. Okay, I mean, he's sitting on very rocky water here, so in his little throne he might feel very safe, but he's starting to recognize that there's a great deal of turbulence around him, and the farther he feels he is drifting from accomplishing this great legacy, the more sort of childish and erratic he's going to become. Now, there is a part of him that just doesn't understand why this victory is being denied to him. He sees himself as so powerful. And you know what? Honestly, I guess, if anybody who says boo against you, you kind of imprison or send to jail, sort imprison, send to jail. I guess those are the same things. Or you send your police out there to attack them. Um, of course, you start to feel like you're very powerful, but you're not really powerful as much as you are greedy and corrupt and heartless. But he doesn't understand why this is being denied to him. He doesn't understand it. Okay, mentally, when you step into that energy, there's sort of a bubbling up of anger and of rage, and he doesn't. It's like, it's like that kid in the candy store who just cannot reasonably understand why what he wants is simply not being handed to him on a silver platter. This kind of is a fool's errand, right? I mean, this is the beginning of the end for him, whether he sees it or recognizes it or doesn't. He is on a fool's errand, okay? And it's not going to go well for him. And it's more than that. It is that Russia as a people are going to, it wasn't that long ago that there was that great sort of uprising in the Ukraine, much to, I think, Paul Manafort's horror, because all kinds of stuff came out that he didn't want to come out. That is exactly what is the trajectory for Russia. I can't give you a timeline, but when he falls, so falls the country, and so falls this kind of governing. So let's continue to always send that sort of energy forward to the people. But the reality is that for him, he is not yet really aware that he sort of signed his own certificate of demise. So there's that. He's going to continue to try, and he's going to continue to fail, because what you have is you have a gentler, more compassionate energy that is encompassing the globe. And I know it doesn't feel like that a lot. I get it. But you have, the two queens here of cups and of wands. And so that is talking about a sort of a fire, an energy, a communication, a way of looking at things, of talking about things, of thinking about things that are far more compassionate, gentle, kind, nurturing, and loving. Anticipate that he is going to continue to push ahead, and anticipate that he is going to continue to be exposed. He puts himself in the position he puts himself in, and he is now going to have to suffer the consequences. And that is one of the consequences. The Death card has showed up following the Nine of Wands. This is not, I'm not reading it as literal per se, but to some degree I am, because it really is the death of a kind of rule. It is the death of a country who has too long been under that kind of rule. And listen, make no mistake, there is a percentage of people in Russia who want to be ruled, who really like kind of being told what to think and what to do and how to behave, not unlike a certain segment of the population in every country, but it certainly has become very prevalent, in the United States in the last little while. There's that 25%. You just can't make heads or tails of what the heck they're thinking. Well, there's also that energy there too, but like here, like everywhere, that energy is being diminished by stronger and more powerful energy, and people who are saying, no, that's no longer acceptable. That's not how we want to live. I've said it before. This is not going to be over today or tomorrow. I don't know that it's going to go on for months and months and years. I don't think so. I'm not sure that it can sort of sustain itself that long, because there's so much more resistance than he anticipated. But make no mistake, he's going to throw money at this time, energy. But I can tell you that it really does appear as if um, it really does appear as if his thoughts are getting more and more confused. Sorry, I didn't mean to get distracted. There is some bunnies that live right around here, and they bounce around. And this little all white bunny just bounced past, except his little paws and his little tips of his ears are turning brown. So, God, let's just keep our fingers crossed. Spring is on the way out here. Okay, so confused thinking, and again, he seems to be getting some pushback from circles that he didn't anticipate getting pushback. Now, does that mean there's going to be an inner revolt within his inner circle? I don't think so. But there's also such a thing as not actively supporting, right? For now, he's going to push ahead, but ultimately it is to his detriment. Okay, I just want to step right into his energy without the cards and see if I can get sort of some clarity of what that kind of looks like. Show me Putin's energy, please. All right, so he's sort of walking around with his chest out, and he's like king, ruler, master, czar. Okay, he really is holding on very, very strong to that energy. He is not going to do anything at this point to admit weakness or defeat. And his it's like I could almost feel like his blood boiling. Okay, like there's just this sense of it's getting more and more heated and more angry, and the energy around him is becoming more and more like toxic. I would not be surprised, and this is the thing, I don't know that we're necessarily going to hear about it, but I wouldn't be surprised if some of his demands or the things he wants, I don't know, the army to do or what people around him start to become even more erratic than they are now. And so what you end up with is people sort of nodding their head, but really dragging their feet. It just feels as if some of what is going to be coming out of his mouth is really, I don't know, I don't want to use the word demented, but it's really not, it's not clear. It's not well thought out. It's not logistical, which are frankly all things that all sort of things that were attributed to him, right? He's always been known as this great strategist. Well, it doesn't feel like he's strategizing very well these days. Now, this is interesting. So, energetically, as I look at his energy, it is graying. Okay. Now, so what I mean by that is his sort of life force energy seems to be shrinking or diminishing. And I'm not suggesting that he's on his deathbed, but what I am saying is because of this sort of diminishment, there is a sense that his ego is not being fed. He is not getting the adulation, the praise, the love that he feels he needs. Is this amazing astrologer person that I'm in contact with? She referred to it as being like a pot with holes in it. It's a really great description, right? Because no matter how much water you put in the pot, the water's not going to drain out. It's never enough. He's never going to get filled up because, frankly, he's just damaged. And for whatever reason he was damaged, whether he showed up that way or whether that was an evolution from his life. But, you know, there is, it doesn't matter how much he gets, it's never ever going to be enough. That is how come he has amassed the kind of wealth that he has amassed, and continues to do so, you know, because he just, it's not enough. But the more he is rejected by other countries and other leaders, the more intense become his reactions because he can literally feel that energy sort of diminishing on him. I would love to tell you this is going to be over really soon. I see sort of the end of March, maybe into kind of April, as a time frame when, kind of middle of April, maybe, a time frame when there seems to be a sense of being able to for the temperatures to come down. And as a final note, Spirit simply wants you to know that keep up the positive energy work. They are saying it is incredibly beneficial. You are hitting the target. You are continuing to surround and weaken the lower vibrational energy and filling up the areas with light and hope and love. And so please do not stop sending your prayers, your good thoughts, your love, etc., because it really, really is working. All right. So there we have that. Until next time, take care. Be well. We'll see you really soon. Bye-bye.